Yeah, we all are obviously happy because the Black Stars did us proud. On the other hand, though, we're not happy because we still don't have power. We're having to endure a whole 24 hours of doom, 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 and only 12 hours of so, which means that during the 12 hours of your so, if you happen to be working, then and you get home after 6, then it's still doom, 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 doom. So we're not really, really happy about that situation. But today, February 6th, is the day of zero tolerance for female genital mutilation. And statistics that I laid my hands on, as of 2013, it said that a national average of about 4% of Ghanaian girls and women between the ages of 15 and 49 years have gone through the practice, against which Ghana passed the law in 1994 with some amendments made to it in 2007. A lot of us, when we talk about female genital mutilation, we say cutting, but what exactly does it entail? What are we supposed to know about it? And why does it still persist? Because we do a lot of work in that area, and that's why I'm being joined by Dr. Robert Mensah. He's a reproductive health specialist with the United Nations Population Fund. May I say good morning?
Good morning.
Thank you for your time. Thank you really for being here.
All right.
So what should we know about it? I mean, we talk about it, and I hear it still persists in some part of, is it Upper East, and some parts of the Volta region.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, why? It's because people believe in their culture, and people sometimes don't want to shift away from their traditions and culture. Female genital mutilation or cutting. Some people prefer to say female genital cutting. Others prefer to say female genital mutilation. But the word cutting seems to be a little bit more friendly compared to mutilation, which has a judgmental connotation. And the genitalia of the female, you need to understand the anatomy of the genitalia of the female sex organ. The vagina, we have the clitoris and the two lips of the vagina, the labia majora and the labia minora. So people in their tradition believe that when they remove some of these structures, it reduces the tendency for the woman to become sexually aroused, and therefore makes them more faithful to their husbands. This culture is an underpinning culture that makes female genital mutilation practiced. They believe in it, people stick to it. So the cutting or the mutilation of the genitalia is either you remove part or partially or totally the clitoris or part of it, or you remove it together with the little lip or the labia minora, or you remove it together with the labia majora, which means it's even a more extensive procedure. So these ones that I've just described gives us the type 1, type 2, and type 3 of female genital mutilation. We have a type 4, which will involve any other thing you do to the genitalia apart from these 3 that I've talked about.
Okay.
But I think type 3 is a very more serious effect. And even though it's a culturally practiced thing, it has implications on the health of the woman, her human rights, physical integrity, right of physical integrity as a person, health, right to health, and right to so many things that eventually does not work properly in the interest of the individual that is undergoing the practice.
So, you know, I think the question that I still have on my mind is, despite the work that a lot of people and the UNFPA has been doing, it still persists, really.
Yes.
So could it also mean that maybe the girls themselves want it? Some of them.
May I ask you, would you want it?
No,
yourself?
I would not. No
Well,
way.
I think it's more in culture. It's also more in the regulatory environment. A lot of things have not been done. The world at one stage appeared confused about it. Don't forget that when there are cultural issues, the cultural issues are very strong because people believe in it. It doesn't matter whether male or female. the female genital mutilation is done to the female. But apparently, the cultural belief is that the beneficiary of that is the male. Because the process is the intervention is done on the woman, but it is to make the woman less sensitive to sexuality issues and to stick more faithfully to the husband. So eventually, the one who is benefiting
is the man.
Is the man. So that's why I said the world appears confused a little bit about this situation, because the man benefits from it as a result of the benefits that the man makes on these issues. The culture is a bit distorted here. But again, in the process of trying to resolve it, some people thought that, oh, if the traditionalists who are doing the cutting or mutilation are not medical people, then when medical people are doing it, it should be better. So medicalization of female genital mutilation started appearing in the field, making it look like it is better. But you see, it doesn't matter whether the clitoris, the labia majora or minora is removed by the best professors on earth.
So which means that it is also being done in the hospitals?
Yes. That's what I'm drawing your attention to, that the situation, because of lack of regulation and others, the situation led to a situation where people thought that when medical people intervene, then the complication will be less. Yes, when medical people intervene, the complication with regards to bleeding and infection could be less when they do it under very good conditions. It could be less, but that is not the most serious long-term complication. The most serious long-term complication is the narrowing of the vagina, the scarring of the, I nearly said intritus. Intritus is the entrance of the vagina, and a whole lot of things with implication on birth, how the woman delivers, therefore maternal mortality and others. It contributes to it. And also, most importantly, the emotional and psychological impact on the woman who may not have wanted it.
You know, one would think that if you're a woman and you've gone through this and you know the implications, you know the effects, then you would not want your daughter to do it.
Well, it depends on the cultural pride they take out of that, because culture conscientizes you. So if your culture makes it look like a woman who has not gone through female genital cutting or mutilation is not worth a woman, you will want your daughter to go through it. So it is the culture which is so strong, making people think that, because who does the cutting? Is it the men or the women?
Who does it?
It's the women. The traditional one is done by the women. It is the women who cut women's genitalia for FGM. It's the women. It is the women who will cut you and go and hide and do it for you. The same woman who has gone through it thinks that she is whole and clean, and you are not. So they have to make you whole and clean. So it is the culture. If you want to tackle female genital mutilation, the legal framework is good. But if it is good, then it will impact more on the medicalization of it. But the legal framework cannot handle the cultural things very well. So we need to have a different approach to the cultural things, so that at the end of the day, we can use evidence-based information to change culture.
Can a young girl be brave enough to take the parents who forced her to do it on?
Oh yes, because there are in many countries, many of the 29, more than half of the 29 countries that this practice is highly prevalent, they have laws. So if they did it to you and you don't like it, you can take them on, because it will be in the interest of the right against your physical integrity, your health, psychological and emotional things. So you can take them on. But you see, taking your parents on has its own other implications as well. So many of the young girls will not. But I'm looking for a day where a young lady will be that bold enough and say that I'm taking you to court. Legally, even though I'm not a legal expert, I believe that they would have a case.
But if maybe somebody is watching and they couldn't do it when they were 15, and they are probably now 30 years, and they've realized, I could have taken a certain action against them, can you still do it?
Well, I wish I were a lawyer to answer that, because sometimes duration and other things have implications on legality. But I should think in my non-lawyer or non-legal brain thinking, I should think that we can test
because
the law by
you
that.
might now be suffering the effects of it.
Yes,
and so
yes.
then, you know,
that's why I should think that you can test the law and see if you are in that situation. I, as a person and as a reproductive health person, I would strongly support you to do that.
But how far can you go?
Well, you kick against the culture. You know, fighting the culture of your own people is a limiting factor on people taking these bold steps.
So I've got to ask you the very difficult question. How do we break this?
How do we break
because
this?
the statistics are declining, per my understanding. But what we want to do, and I think even the theme, I mean, is zero tolerance. So
Yeah.
0, 0, 0, 0. How do we get to that point?
Yeah, if you get the UNFPA and the UNICEF and other the executive directors, the joint statement that they released, if you get it to read, you see that the import of the message is that as we have been dealing with the culture, that is probably the reason why the practice is declining in a way. But again, they think, and I agree with them, that this phenomenon of medicalization, where medical practitioners are now taking over in aspects of it to do the FGM, is giving credence to it as if it is legal, as if it is right, as if it is medical, as if it is something that should be done. And so the zero tolerance message here, apart from going into the culture, apart from hitting the traditionalists, is targeting the medical people that stop medicalization so we can stop female genital mutilation.
Can we also look at, by doing this, do people really stay faithful to their partners? Is there some sort of, I guess what I want to ask is there certain research that says those who haven't done it were unfaithful and those who did it? So is there, you know, like a study in a certain community?
I have not cited, maybe I've not looked enough, but I've not cited a research like that. But the truth is that, is it faithfulness or is it the health of the individual? Is it faithfulness or is it the contribution of FGM to maternal mortality? Is it faithfulness or the violation of the rights of the individual woman that we need to really talk about here? Because in regards to faithfulness, whether circumcised or uncircumcised, people remain faithful and unfaithful based on their individual conviction and their attitude towards sexuality. I have not cited that research, but I should think that it is not necessarily so, because the woman who has undergone FGM may have complications having sex. So in the end, she will not even enjoy the sex with the husband.
But don't the men care? I mean, don't they care? Do they just want the woman to just lie down for them to do and then get up? Because you want the woman to also enjoy it so that, you know, she can show you what she's got.
Well, it depends on what the man is looking for. He just comes into the woman, introduces his penis into the woman, and then the next moment he's had an ejaculation. Maybe that's all he's looking at. And then again, he thinks that the woman will be tight enough because usually when they do it, because of scarring, the intritus, the opening of the vagina gets a little bit of tightness. But you see, it is tight. And so when the man introduces himself into it, the tendency for it to be stretched as a fibrous tissue to be stretched and give her more pain is there. And sometimes the man also enjoys it that once he's making love to a woman and she's in a little bit of pain, then he's really working hard. I mean, these kind of things are a bit haphazard. We need to address them more realistically by providing information, quality information to communities, to individuals, to conscientize them to know that it is better not to touch the vagina of the woman and circumcise anything. At least respect her right to physical integrity, respect her right to health, respect her right to the ethics and emotional psychological well-being of the individual.
If we try to send the messages really down to specific communities, would it work? Would the men, I don't know, maybe I want to get the understanding of these men so that we'll know how to do the communication.
Excellent. So let's look at what I think the problem here is. We have a culture, I mean those people who practice it, have a culture that says that when a woman is at a certain age, the clitoris should be removed for this reason, or the female genital cutting, depending on the degree of cutting, should be done for this reason. When it is done, the woman is cleaner, making love to her will be a bit more tighter, because the clitoris is very sensitive. It causes the woman to go around looking for other men to sleep with, so she will become faithful to me, and those type of things. And as a result of that, the men in society who, when are going to marry, look down upon women who are not circumcised and want the ones who are circumcised to marry. You don't want your daughter to remain unmarried. So the woman also becomes part of the decision. So the man benefits. The woman who is going to do the circumcision also has interest, because if my daughter doesn't have that one, then she's not whole in our society. So if you want to address it, you must go into the culture and address it from the culture by bringing out evidence to show that these are your so-called benefit of female genital mutilation. These are the recognized health implication, human rights implication, societal implication, and whatever challenges that are listed here. So weigh the two and see. Let them know that many of the women in your community are suffering from difficulty with even having sex, or children, neonatal mortality as a result of female genital mutilation, or maternal mortality as a result of it. Or you see, when they did it to these other people, 10 of them were done, 8 of them bled to death, or 6 of them were done, 2 of them bled to death. The others also died 3 weeks later from infection. Bring the evidence to them and let them know that yes, you may want your women to live this way, but it is creating more problems. Now, when some of these evidence were gathered and shown to some communities, some started thinking about it, and they were like, okay, if that's the case, then let medical people begin to do it. So they were going to see the medical people who were doing it, one, because they lived in the communities, it was difficult for them to resist. Secondly, there were no regulations within the countries to guide the medical people how to do it or how not to do it, or even explain to your family members who have come for FGM to be done to reduce bleeding and infection. No regulations. So, and then there are no laws. So they do it and go and do it for free. And then eventually people realize, okay, the doctors and things are doing it, so the people are not dying that much. But we are saying that they may not die from infection, they may not die from bleeding, because the medical people who are doing it probably have knowledge enough to be able to stop those things. That is, if they are doctors, gynecologists or something. But irrespective of who you are, you cannot prevent the long-term complication, which will lead to scarring. And then sometimes this one is called infibulation. So you do, the entrance is smaller. But when they go to deliver, because of the force of the delivery, it opens up again, and they have to go and do re-infibulation. Yeah, re-infibulation. It is done by the doctors or the nurses again. And then you cause more scarring and create more problem. And then the intratus becomes so narrow. For some of them, it becomes so narrow that you can't even put this little finger into the hole. How is she going to enjoy sex again? Sex becomes an abomination for her.
Can we do a certain orientation so that at least those in the medical field can stop doing it?
You are with me. That's exactly the purpose of the message on the zero tolerance for female genital mutilation. I said, if you read the executive director's communication, they are saying that let's tackle medicalization. In other words, let's form a partnership with medical people. Let them appreciate that they should use their knowledge to help the people understand the complications that come, so that they don't go ahead to do, rather than to conform to doing it because society is saying this is what we want.
Should we give ourselves a certain timeline to see if this new strategy works?
It's a strategy that has been going on for now. Many countries have adopted it. Many health professionals are stopping. But you see, the concept of health professionals and health people involving themselves in this in itself is a very serious thing, because it gives credence to the fact that it appears that it is good. It is something that must
otherwise the professionals would not be doing it.
Yeah, you know, that's how the thinking
exactly,
will be like. Yeah. Yes, but whether the professionals do it or not, it's not the solution.
If it's wrong, it's wrong.
Because if it's wrong, it's wrong.
Yeah. You know, you are a reproductive health specialist, so please help us clear this tiny issue that seems to be really big. Tightening of the vagina. What does it do? I mean, and is it something that women should be thinking about?
No. You don't need to tighten the vagina. God, in his wisdom, created the vagina in a very beautiful way. If you take the vagina itself, which is a tube, what you see outside when a woman exposes herself is not the vagina. At best, you can see the mons pubis, translated as the mountain of the pubic, the mons pubis. Then you see the labia majora, and perhaps you may see the labia minora with the clitoris jutting. But that is just the opening, the front door. The vagina itself is a tube inside that moves from that area I've just described to the end where it joins with the neck of the womb. That tube has walls that have something we call rugae, which are foldings, so it can allow for stretch. It has structures there that have tough resistance to abrasion and to other things that will make. So God has created it in such a way that the vagina is resilient. It can stretch or it can come back to its normal naturally. Now, usually, some people apply chemicals and things to, as it were, cause some form of dryness of the vagina, hoping that the place will be tight. It gives them problems also, because then you reduce friction, rather you increase friction, and the tendency is for more abrasion to result and get more problems with it. And that aspect has even been found to contribute immensely towards HIV and others.
Oh, really?
Well. Yeah, because then you are exposed to abrasion and easy penetration of the body by these viruses if they are around. So it is not so much of the tightening. And then let's ask ourselves, you are tightening it for who?
For the man to, you know, to enjoy it better.
Yeah, but at that time when you are doing the female genital mutilation, you probably didn't know the man and the size of his dick. So if the man's dick is far bigger than the entrance you are creating,
you're going to be hurting yourself more.
So why don't you rather wait and measure the man's vaginal diameter, be sure of the diameter and the length of the, and recreate your own vagina for
Finally, Doc, I've got to ask you, how is the UNFPA observing today?
Well, like we are discussing it here, it's a global effort led by our executive director and other UN agencies as well, together with the International Confederation of Midwives and so many other international agencies. The main purpose is to create awareness globally for governments to take up the responsibility of putting in place laws and guidelines and procedures that will help us achieve zero tolerance of female genital mutilation.
You think we can get there?
Well, we are getting there, because until this campaign started seriously somewhere around 2008 or so, the statistics shows that the rate of decline, we've seen a declining trend, but we will wish for
it goes down further.
And now we have seen that the medicalization is also creating some problem for us. So we are tackling the medicalization now. So doctors, nurses, paramedical staff who are in our facilities, even in Ghana, who are involved in doing a thing like this, we are begging you, stop it, because your practice is perpetrating something that harms our ladies.
Okay, so I was going to say thank you, but my director, Sarah, is very much concerned about this issue of tightening of the vagina. I don't know if it's something she practices, but she's just told me some people use hot water as well.
Yes, people use all sorts of things.
Is it to clean the place or, I don't know, warm the place up or what?
Whether what they are doing is really right or let me tell you, the correct management of the vagina by natural means that we all know is that leave the vagina alone. That is the correct management.
So how do you wash the place?
Leave it alone. The vagina is self-cleansing.
So you don't clean it?
It is self-cleansing. But it is because we have adopted an attitude since birth of touching the vagina and doing all sorts of things. We have changed what we call the natural flora of the vagina and created a little bit more problem. Let me ask you, animals also have vagina. Who washes it for them?
Big question. I'll have you back. I'll have you back again. I'll have you back again at a time that is absolutely convenient to you. Okay. Because when you bring the issue of children, babies,
yes,
and how our grandmothers and our mothers use hot water there,
yes,
we have to discuss that
thank
issue,
you.
Definitely. But I want to say thank you. Dr.
You're
Robert Mensah is a reproductive health specialist with the United Nations Population Fund. We're observing today Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation. You've heard a lot. You really heard a lot, and how we can get the message down. So whilst you educate yourself, make sure you educate your family, make sure you educate your community as well. In the end, we want an absolute zero tolerance. I've got one more thing before we close the show, though, and it's with the Teens Aloud Foundation. Think Aloud. What's that all about? I'll come back and tell you more here on the AM show.